Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Westerville City Schools Board of Education. Thank you all for joining us tonight. You may follow along by connecting to the district's website at www.wcsh.org to click on the district link, or you can look on the agenda right here to follow along with us. There will be two opportunities to address the board this evening, the first being agenda item 6.1. The first set of public comments is relative to agenda items 7.1 through 11.03. Please state the agenda items you are referencing at the beginning of your comments. The second opportunity is agenda item 12.1. There is a sign-up sheet located on the back table of the room, and each speaker will have 5 minutes to address the board. And a timer will be shown on the screen. And with that, Ms. Marshall, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Bell?
Here.
Ms. Cotter?
Here.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Here.
Mr. Velardo is absent. Mrs. Davidson?
Here. Will you please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, up first tonight is district highlights and recognition, which takes us to winter graduation. May I have a motion to approve the winter graduates pending completion of all local and state requirements?
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes, and with that, Dr. Kellogg?
So here's the part you guys came for. You ready? President Davidson and members of the Board of Education, distinguished former and current faculty and staff, honored guests and proud families of the graduates of Westerville Central, Westerville North, and Westerville South High Schools. The state of Ohio establishes in law 2 requirements for earning a high school diploma. The first is the successful completion of a rigorous academic curriculum. The second is satisfactory performance on the state of Ohio's required assessments. Ladies and gentlemen, seated before you are the young men and women who have now satisfied those requirements. The administration of Westerville City Schools has verified, and the Board of Education has unanimously approved their candidacy for graduation. And so it is with great pleasure as superintendent of Westerville City Schools that I confer to each semester graduate a Westerville City Schools State of Ohio Diploma of Completion. So now, for the official ceremony, I'm going to invite Tom Lanier from Westerville Central High School to come forward and present his comments and his graduates, and I ask the board and the treasurer, Ms. Marshall, to join us out front so we can greet them as they get their diplomas.
Thank you, Dr. Kellogg. President Davidson, Superintendent Kellogg, Treasurer Marshall, and members of the Board of Education. The Central Warhawk Learning Community prides itself on 3 core values that drive our mission each and every day while we're at the corner of Tussock and Mount Royal. The central core values include, number 1, always do your best, number 2, be kind, and number 3, embrace uniqueness. It gives me great pride to stand before you this evening to recognize the students from Warhawk Nation who earned their diploma and share with you that they have done so by exhibiting the core values during their time as a student at Central. Our students did not earn their diplomas in isolation, though. I also want to applaud the work of our dedicated teachers and staff at Westerville Central. I especially want to thank Dr. Ebrecht and his staff at EOS, the early learning, or I'm losing that, EOS, we'll go with EOS. Because without their support, it would be difficult for these students to be here today. And finally, I want to also recognize the families of the students who have been there to support them through all of their education journey. Again, it takes a team effort. It truly takes a team effort for students to achieve success, and certainly we have a great team here in Westerville. So finally, there's much that goes into educating students in today's hectic world. However, one skill stands above all the others when it comes to success in life, And being where I am and who I am, I really truly believe that the skill that you need is to persevere. Persevere. Today's ceremony is a testament to students who persevered through the inevitable ups and downs of education, their education career. They hung in there through everything. As adults, it's easy for us to talk about perseverance. And you guys, have you heard us talk about perseverance? Yeah, okay. Just nod. You've got to go with that, okay? We talk about it in the abstract, though. And it's difficult to really understand it until you have to go through something. And so as students, as adults, we go through it, we come out on the other side, all of a sudden we realize we can survive it and we can be better for it. And we learn from that experience. So congratulations to everybody on your journey to where you are tonight. It is indeed my pleasure at this point in time to congratulate 7 students altogether from Central who persevered through everything, 2 of whom are here this evening. So this is only the first time since I've been here that I actually know one of our special graduates at this point in time. So I'm very excited about that. And I'm super excited about the other young man who showed up this evening because he was there before I got there. So I didn't have a chance to cross paths with him, but it was nice to meet him tonight. So at this point, what I'd like to do is recognize our 2 graduates who are in attendance and at least read the names of the other ones once we're finished with them. So our first graduate is Anthony Jonathan Johnson. I knew Anthony. Our next young man is Christian James Smith. Other folks who were not able to be here tonight, Nicholas Jennings Hunley, Cheyenne Selena Rubio, Maverick Warner Piper, Griffin Alexander Moore, and Alea Monet Tibbs are the other 5 students who have graduated at this point in time. Congratulations to our friends from North and South as well. And at this point in time, I want to introduce Mr. Yancey, who will introduce the Westerville North people.
President Davidson, Superintendent Kellogg, Treasurer Marshall, members of the Board of Education, good evening. My name is Kurt Yancey, and I'm the principal at Westerville North High School. It is my pleasure to be able to publicly say congratulations to all of our graduates this evening and to certainly wish you luck in all that you do from here. On behalf of the entire Westerville North learning community and all the other district employees, I'm a little shorter than Ms. Lanier. I have to turn this down so you can hear me. And all the other district employees who have affected your life, please accept our congratulations for your accomplishment. We are all very proud of the Westerville Central Warhawks, Westerville North Warriors, and Westerville South Wildcats who are becoming alumni this evening. Before you cross this bridge officially, though, I wanted to give you a couple pieces of advice. No matter what happens from here, please continue to push on. Push yourself to keep moving forward. You will fail at times. I'm not going to lie to you. But failure should be seen as a positive, even though it doesn't always feel good. In the words of the great Henry Ford, failure is the opportunity to begin again, this time more intelligently. Michael Jordan once said, "I've failed over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Seeing failure as an opportunity to learn is a great life lesson for you to remember as you move on to your next adventure. Don't give up. No matter what happens, don't give up. You didn't give up when you were trying to get to this point, and we're very, very proud of you. Don't give up from here on out. I wish you the best of luck in the future. I'm going to, at this time, read the graduates from Westerville North who are with us this evening. First, I'm going to start with some graduates who weren't able to come, and if we can give them a round of applause. First, Cody McKay Coons. We can give him a round of applause. Ahmed Suleiman Dregia. And Lauren Diana Lane. And our first graduate who was able to make it to be here this evening, Jelani Nagy Correo Martin. Next, I'm proud to introduce Alexis Nicole Morton. Thank you again for allowing us to recognize our graduates this evening. I'm going to turn the program over to Mr. Hinsey, principal of Westerville South High School, who is going to introduce his graduates as well. Mr. Hinsey.
President Davidson, Superintendent Kellogg, Treasurer Marshall, thanks for allowing us to come up here and recognize South's graduates, none of whom are in attendance. So I'm going to read their names so that we can recognize them here. Our first graduate is Glenn Atchison, Abigail Marie Bayer, Lalina Rosalind Bricker, Carrington Orion Collins, Sierra Nicole Eisenman, Robin Janine Heft, Cody Webster Gila, Ryan Thomas Paulus, Michael Alexander Reynolds, Lainey Schuyler Ronsky, Jada Marie Smith, Mark Anthony Juarez Stewart, Hayden Philip Townsend, Jamali Esperanza Vasquez, and Kyle Gregory Williams. We are very proud of them.
Well, we do have another thing, so.
Oh, we have another record.
Yes.
One more presentation, then we're going to dismiss you for your picture. All right, there we go.
Good evening, President Davidson, Superintendent Kellogg, members of the Board of Education, Treasurer Marshall. I'm here this evening to present to you so that we can recognize the award recipients for the 2019 Foust and Alston Awards that were presented by the Leadership Westerville MLK Legacy Project. The Foust Awards are named for Dr. William H. Foust, who was the first African-American graduate of Westerville Schools in 1884. Dr. Foust had a goal of being a bridge builder for the youth who will have to cross the broad, deep chasm of ignorance. The Foust Award is given to Westerville area K through 12 students who most effectively exemplify the characteristics demonstrated by Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And so our first award recipient is Miss Molly Wilkinson. Is Molly here? Molly sets an example by quietly doing what's right, and she has a moral compass wise beyond her years. She's willing to do anything to help other students and staff. Molly participated in the Paths Book Club, where the participants read 2 books, In the Year of the Boar and Jackie Robinson. Molly stood out from the others because of her ability to share insights from her own culture, as well as thoughtful perspectives about social themes in the stories. She's also a member of Wilder's Safety Patrol, where she helps to keep students and families safe on school grounds and in the surrounding neighborhood. She's a member of Wilder's K-Kids through Kiwanis, which focuses on service in school and community. Molly's inner light is full of tolerance, patience, acceptance for others, and this light shines brightly at Wilder Elementary, and I know that her special qualities will continue to shine in years to come. So thank you very much, Molly. Our next Foust Award recipient is Miss Ellie Reish. Ellie is an 8th grader at St. Paul School, and she was nominated by her teacher, Angela Kuhn. And in the nomination, she wrote, Martin Luther King once said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Once anyone has met Ellie, the answer is clear. She's doing all she can. Ellie is the eldest of 5 children, an excellent student, and a quiet young lady with a purpose to help others. She serves at school as a mentor to new students and to those who need help with their studies, and she serves at church as a volunteer for Mass and for funerals. She organizes and promotes school lunch and church service projects which benefit WARM, the St. Paul Refugee Ministry, and Holy Rosary St. John projects. She recently initiated an initiative that's called So Loved, and it's S-E-W Loved. It's a student service club through the Idea Lab at St. Paul. Her effort to sow in service to others was financed by making pillowcases for refugees and homeless people, turbans for women who've lost their hair from chemotherapy, no-sew blankets, and sandwich wraps to reduce the use of plastics in the environment. She organized So Loved, then promoted the group's mission of serving others to the administration and student body at St. Paul. Ellie is a very special young lady. She knows no strangers, has a diverse group of friends, and is well respected by students and parents alike. So congratulations to Ellie. Our next Foust Award recipient is Miss Kennedy Kandai. Kennedy is a senior at Westerville Central High School, and she was nominated by one of her teachers, Kyle King. He writes, Kennedy is a student who emulates the characteristics of Dr. King in every way and will continue to do so in ways that are yet to be imagined. Kennedy is an incredibly gifted and talented dancer who works hard at developing her gifts to the fullest. Through her coursework and class presence, Kennedy models unfailing respect for all of her fellow students and teachers. As a leader in the student body, Kennedy is a tireless advocate for the inclusion of everyone into the life of Westerville Central. Kennedy is a unique and special person because she possesses a work ethic that is rarely seen in students at her age. Kennedy has served as the leader, the coach and choreographer for Central's drill and dance team. And as her confidence and influence continued to grow, she also became an integral part of the theater department, where she assists in coordinating the Black History Month celebration at Westerville Central. As a senior, she continues to stand out in her pursuit of academic excellence through AP coursework, and she is ranked in the top third of her class, all the while also maintaining excellence in dance and her other extracurricular pursuits. Congratulations to Kennedy. And the last award we would like to recognize this evening is the 2019 Alston Award. This award is named in honor of Miriam Alston, who inherited 9 slaves from her deceased husband in 1851. She was able to obtain another 21 of her late husband's slaves, and she stipulated that they should be taken north and emancipated. Alston died in 1855, but made arrangements for the freed slaves to be brought to the Westerville Africa Road area, where they were freed and fully emancipated in 1859. The 2019 recipient of the Alston Award is Miss Cynthia DeVise. Mrs. DeVise was nominated by Dr. John Kellogg, Superintendent of Westerville City Schools. When this nomination, Dr. Kellogg writes, when this nomination came across my desk, there was no question in my mind that Cynthia DeVise must be presented as a nominee for the award. Since coming to Westerville City Schools as the first ever coordinator of minority student achievement, Cynthia's outstanding work in collaboration with other leaders has touched many lives of the students and staff as well. Her graceful, thoughtful, and persistent leadership style has earned her the trust and respect of staff, students, and family across the community. A few of her accomplishments: she has received a $10,000 grant from the Westerville Education Foundation to support Student Connections Program, developed and organized a model program which matches middle school girls and with women leaders in the community for mentoring and support. She supported the development of district-level and building-level equity teams, and she has collaborated with district officials to examine issues related to student and food scarcity. Suffice it to say that Cynthia's leadership has helped our district and our students step to the dream of equality and education. She is certainly and truly a blessing to our Westerville community. So congratulations to Mrs. DeVise.
We're going to dismiss
Oh.
the award recipient and helping the interpretation. And I think, Lynn, you're going to take some pictures out front, so can't escape yet. Get some pictures. Family can get in that photo opportunity as well. And so we'll dismiss those who are not interested in sitting around for the rest of the meeting but might want to go with family. So take care. Thank you for being here this evening. Congratulations.
I do love recognizing people.
That's the good stuff.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
Now, if we could just have all of our board meetings be just that.
Yeah, that's right. Then we'll just do a blanket approval of everything financial, and then we'll just recognize people all the time.
Once a month, it should just be recognitions, and the business meeting should be a different meeting.
Yeah, we just recognize.
Share.
There's a teeny bit in there. Oh, there's a lot of people left.
Do we still have a quorum?
It smells like cake.
It does. It's a good thing Rick's not here. He'd eat it.
Mary Cookie.
fill-in. Let's go.
Sorry about that. 1 second. Okay, 4.1. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Board of Education held on February 11th, 2019?
So moved.
Second. Any questions or comments? Ms. Marshall?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 5.1 is our audit report, and I'm going to hand this over to Ms. Marshall. I think she's going to introduce our,
Yes, so we have Mr. Matt Bartosik from the district's audit committee. He's a community member that's agreed to serve on the audit committee, and I believe this is your last year on the audit committee. Is that right, Matt?
Yes, it is.
So he's going to present the
This will be my
2008.
third year, so I have to rotate off at the end of this one, but I could be back in 3, you never know. I know everyone left, but you guys did a great job presenting some pretty remarkable stories, so well done. I'll try my best to follow up, but audits do get kind of a little bit long. But yes, as Nicole said, my name is Matt Bartosik. My wife and I and family have resided in Genoa Township for 5 years now. Great city, so happy to be a part to help out with what I can. So today I'm just going to present at a high level the overall results of the audit. The results were consistent with the last 3 years I've been a part of the meeting, or a part of the committee. The independent auditors issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the financial statements. There were no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies in internal control. At the financial statement level, there were no reported material issues of non-compliance. There were no material internal control weaknesses related to federal programs. The type of opinion issued on the major programs was unmodified and clean as well, which basically means there are no findings to report. There is one issue that is just going to continue to carry over until it's resolved, which is related to an illegal expenditure regarding the overpayment of sick leave from 2014, but that won't go away until the issue is resolved in court, is my understanding. So that'll just linger around until it goes away. Other than that, there's nothing else to report. Great job to Nicole and her team for issuing another successful audit. So if you have any questions for me.
no. Thank you so much
Yeah, thank
for
you,
your
Matt,
time
for
and for
taking
doing
the
this.
time.
And hopefully you will come back in a couple of years. All right, sounds good. Do you want to say anything else? Okay. 5.2 is our mental health report, and Tammy Santa is going to join us for that.
Good evening, President Davidson, members of the board. I'm excited to be here tonight. I'm going to preface with there's a ton of information within these slides that we won't possibly be able to get into a lot of the details. So if anyone at any point wants to talk in more detail about any of this, happy to do so. So with that, I'm just going to jump right in. I thought it was important to start with a little bit of history and a reminder of where I think for our district, social emotional learning kind of took off and continues to grow. And it was within the strategic planning process as it related to Dimension 6. Luckily, I was there and part of that process without knowing maybe where I would land right now. So just important to know that our stakeholders, our community, all of our folks from all different areas really were kind of saying the same thing. You know, this was an important piece to education, whether we call it social emotional, whole child, the non-academic pieces. So that's where this kind of took off. And from there, I'll hopefully show you a little bit of an update of where we stand now. The second piece is maybe Equally as important to give you a framework or a definition of how we look at social emotional learning. And so often, in my scope, people go quickly to the other end of the spectrum, and they talk more about the extreme mental health and different pieces there. And so if you look at it through this lens, you're going to see it's much more broad, much more important and easy for everybody, no matter where you fall in our education system, to impact social emotional learning for our students. So I hope that definition helps frame this a little bit better. And then the last piece is something that I hope threads through all the work that our groups do, and that's the context of supportive relationships. So whether that is, anything we do, if it gets back to intentional or unintentional positive adult relationships, that's where we're going to see the biggest impact in learning and resilience and all the good things that we do. So that's a piece that any teams that I'm able to support really bring to the table. Quickly, just some roles of how I support social emotional learning for our district. I'll touch on a lot of this throughout the slides, but you'll see two big groups here that I'll continue to pivot back and forth between, and that's going to be the K-12 school counselors. We have 36 of those folks running around the district, and then our clinicians, and we have 13 of those. I wanted to try and define those two roles a little bit more clearer. That might help as we navigate through the rest of the slides. So we'll start with school counselors. Traditionally, we call them guidance counselors, and we have moved to just using the term school counselor. So a school counselor is going to be more academic focused, more advising career strengths, goals. They're still going to scratch the surface on social emotional learning, but as it intensifies and moves down a strain, that's when they're going to pass it off to the second group, and these are the clinicians. For whatever reason, we've called this group a lot of different names over the years: school social workers, student assistance program counselors, mental health specialists. So we're going to try and, moving forward, only call that group clinicians, because that's truly what they are, to try and clear up that confusion. And so this group, which is my wheelhouse and where my strengths lie, are truly clinically trained folks who have a real specific skill set in mental health. And the cool part with Westerville City School clinicians, for anyone that's aware of trauma work and brain, so we all have a level 1 trauma certification. We look through the brain lens when it comes to education, and it's just a really unique subset that this group has. So just to kind of clarify those two roles for you, there's school psychologists, there's behavior specialists, other folks within social emotional, but these are going to be the two that I would say I support most and that I will kind of go back and forth between tonight. And just a list of other things that I help support. So the goal on these next few slides is to give you a good picture of elementary, middle, and high school as quickly as possible. So if you look at elementary, you're going to see the school counselor side. We have 12 full-time people in 15 buildings, which is huge growth, and we're getting there, with the focus of what we're trying to encourage them to do as it ties to our school counselor curriculum. Notice that the focus doesn't mean that's all they do. So we're trying to push on that focus point. We understand that there's other things, maybe testing, maybe 504s, these other components, but this is where we're really trying to push to see what's in the way of getting to these focus points. So you'll see that throughout. So that's what we're really pushing them to do. This PASS curriculum is our resource we're using to try and just get those basic SEL skills taught. You'll see that we do call on the elementary school counselors to do a little bit more than secondary, just because of the mental health support that we have at the secondary level. So if you flip over to that mental health side, those are your clinicians. We have one from Westerville, and then 2 more days we pick up from Concord to serve our specialized learning communities at 3 buildings. So that's very specific to special education. And they're picking up those IEP minutes. As a whole, everybody at the elementary level has access to Concord. So if for whatever reason, their community prevention program, we're able to refer a student and a family over there for no cost. They do have to make it to Concord, but that is a nice resource that all of our families have access to. And here's just a quick breakdown, what that looks like. So how many days each person is at each building. So school counselors right there on the left. You'll see Hawthorne with a plus on it. Gets interesting when you start to have good problems with FTE, and so we had one day where we actually take Zach from Charrington. He spends his 5th day at Hawthorne only in kindergarten, delivering pass lessons to give them some extra support. But otherwise, that's self-explanatory. The other side, those are your clinicians. Again, Sheila from Westerville and Kristen from Concord covering the 2 days at Whittier. Jumping into middle, you'll see the middle school counselors. Focus gets a little bit more specific to the academic planning, the implementing our counselor curriculum. I think we're doing a much better job of getting back into the classroom at the middle school level, trying to assess strengths, set goals, do things to really get students thinking about what's next for them as they enter high school. Jump over to the mental health side, and you're going to have 4 prevention clinicians. These are all from Concord. So as we've built FTE and capacity at other levels, we've been able to shift these all into middle, so that now every middle school has a full-time person every single day, which I think has really built some capacity and growth for our middle level at the mental health end. So as far as Concord goes, someone is in that building in all of our middle schools every single day. They're on site, they're through Concord. That's grant funded for the most part. They provide no cost sessions, 1 time, 10 times. It just varies by presenting issue. And the only difference in there is heritage, which again, we have some additional need there. So Westerville City School clinician picks up 5 days there as well, so they get a little extra support. Again, Jesse Martin at Heritage is there serving primarily special education. And here's our high school picture. So we have 13 high school counselors plus Adam Rex at EOS. Again, similar focus points there. Jump over to the clinician side. Grown a bunch here. So Central and South sit at 1.5. We have someone split going back and forth. North at 2. These are Westerville employed, so there's a lot more flexibility here. They carry a special ed caseload to serve those IEP minutes. Plus, they see anything and everything else that comes their way at the high school level. It gets busy. They're doing a lot of crisis assessment, a lot of school-based counseling that kind of get referred to them from the folks on the left and from admin, and drive a lot of the education in the building as well.
Tammy, can I ask a quick question on that last slide? So the high school clinicians, and you said they serve the IEPs, about how many kids is that? Do you have any idea how many they're serving?
So it's, I would say a comfortable caseload is around 15.
Okay.
North is different. They serve an intensive population, so similar to Heritage and similar to the 3 you saw at the elementary level. So that caseload is very different because the minutes per month are much higher on the intensive classrooms.
Got it.
But when it's just a general mental health IEP, 20 is nice. We're stretching 30 and 35 now.
Oh.
So again, right, so we've added a person this school year, this first time. So that's that half, right, at Central and at South. So Noelle and Sarah, who were trying to run and do everything. Now, Hannah is kind of that in-between where she's shifting a lot of her energy to mental health IEPs. And when you have the same person doing that kind of work, now she's able to help with a lot of other pieces in those classrooms as well, and team-taught pieces, depending on the IEP needs, and letting the full-time person pick up a lot of the general education needs. Still a dance, but that's why that was added and why we continue to track that. But yeah, we track it down to the minutes per quarter. Good. Thank you. Our crisis and care team, unfortunately or fortunately, this is a really good group to have in-house. There's 13 of us, so when unfortunate situations happen, this is your group that comes in. If we need to call other folks from the community in to assist, we can. But this is the team that will respond to any building or buildings as needed in the district. So this could be overwhelming, and we could talk data all day, but what really it says is that we're getting on the same page with recording information and trying to track who's coming into our offices and how we're serving students on the counseling end. Elementary's been doing this for a while for us. Now every single building is, and I think that's really important. We are still cleaning it up, so this is just some screenshots of what a sign-in looks like if you're at South. Students are very used to this now. We've obviously hidden student information from the other side of that, but that's just a Google Sheet. So you go to responses and you can quickly see students, how they got there, what time, they're stamped in and out. We're improving this process, and we're able to learn a lot about the traffic coming in and out of our pupil services offices. And again, if you're familiar with Google, it's so easy, it's all live, so you can pull this at any point if they want to use it quarterly to drive practice, if they want to use it semester, at the end of the year. Juliet and Ann Baldwin and Suzanne and Barbara and I were able to look at this at any point to help look on a district lens as well. But these are just examples. So this is an elementary building that's had about 1,700 entries so far. We also don't get lost in how big those pie shapes are, because this person's delivered 102 classroom lessons, which we're really focusing on. Right, so that's 2,500 kids, 72 small groups, so that's 350. So it's, you know, a little bit of a small sliver, but still making a good impact and still seeing 400 and some kids individually. So able to just extract a lot of these pieces. The elementary are all tracking the same thing, so we can also see district trends. This is a middle school picture. Middle school's newer to this scene, but right, we can break it down by grade level. We can see how they're getting to the office. And then on the right, you can see where we need to clean some things up when 200 and some are other, why they're not able to select something. We'll drill down and figure that out so we can clean that up a little bit, but gives us really quick pictures. Same thing, this is just high school. So Central, this was last year when I don't think they were too sure how this was going to work, and then they did it for 2 months and realized this was pretty cool. So they were able to, again, see things really quickly with 1,700 visits in that short amount of time. Again, they've got a pretty big other chunk there, but we started to pull out patterns within that first week or two. And then bottom one, that's a clinical one. So right out of high school, if they're seeing 400 kids a year on a pretty intensive basis, those are the top areas that we track presenting issue. So we can say, what do we need, right? So when we're in classrooms, we can teach some stress management, some anxiety, some regulation pieces, to try and not just respond to what we're seeing. And again, those small slivers you don't want to see either, right? We're still tracking crisis assessments. We're still tracking children's services calls, and other pieces that are really important, so we know how many runs we're making on a regular basis as well. And then the last piece of data, so this is Panorama. So district-wide, this is our big tool that we've been using. We're in year 2. This is what we're assessing, all grades 2 through 12. Same survey that we'll use last year, this year, and next. Those are the 6 areas you can see that we're surveying. And these are just some screenshots. So you can see the fall administration, we received about 10,000 surveys back, which is fantastic. We've been over 80% every time we've surveyed, which is where you want to be. This is an example of a question you can pull out. You can play all over the place in this Panorama dashboard, but right, if you look at sense of belonging, and this is a specific question out of that, if you look on the bell curve, we're doing really well. We're actually above a national average, which we could celebrate and turn the page, or we could look at that breakdown there and realize we got over 1,000 kids who don't want to be here, and then we go after that. Right, you could break this down by your building, by your grade level, separate out all the demographics, everything you want to do. And that's what buildings have done a nice job of. We have a good PD built in with Panorama, so they're here a lot on site. I won't get into the details, but there's a lot of really cool strategies and interventions that a lot of buildings are doing based on this data and lots of other pieces. It's just a piece to the puzzle, but it's been really fun to watch this just be another piece to how we go after social emotional pieces. Some more professional learning. So these are in-house modules that these 2 groups, school counselors and school clinicians, have put together. based on data, based on different patterns and trends that we've seen over the past several years. And the first 5 are available and encouraged at every building, so we're consistent in what we're delivering in-house, led by your school counselors or your clinical team. And the last one is a new one that we're putting together this year, as trauma seems to be kind of the buzzword, but it's not a lot of new information, just presented differently, so we're putting together a little bit of that for next year. Another huge area, everyone that, I've spoken about, they should be our experts, they should be our advocates, they should get people as close to that door as possible for whatever issue is happening. This gets a little tiring, but I think they get it, especially if they've ever been up against a long list from your insurance company. And, we just got one today, and there was, it was 20-some pages long, and the first 10 weren't even in business, so we get it, right? And so this is just a sample of what we put together. We go through it every quarter as a group and make sure it's accurate and up to date, but these are just really good people we would send our own family to, and we cross that, with waiting lists, with the exact insurance that's accepted, specialty areas, ages, and try and narrow that lovely list that insurance folks give you down to a science. So again, it removes every barrier to get people into a door for some help. I think we have lots of areas to celebrate. We've grown a bunch. We're really improving how we gather data and how we're accountable for what we're doing, how we identify gaps and target areas. Our school counselor curriculum, as much as our school counselors may groan when Juliet and Anna and I talk about it, they're doing a really good job of entertaining us and going through it and trying to stay true to our focus points, resources, PD, a lot of partnerships with a lot of good people, and lots of other things that pop up with programming. Areas to grow. So the biggest thing for me is that I go talk to anyone at the community, parent level. They don't know we have all these great things. And so for the past couple years, I've worked with Dr. Kellogg and with Greg's office to try and figure out how do we get this message out there better. And so if you haven't looked at the website, I think that did launch. And so this is just one more point of reference, because it's really a little disappointing when you talk to a parent and they don't know we're out there at all until they need us or it's too late. So that website now has a lot of crisis links. It has a lot of other material. So even if they don't make it to us, maybe something on there will point them in the correct direction. But again, just trying to get out in front of things a little bit better with making sure people understand what Westerville does have to offer just in-house, let alone other places. Parent education and awareness series. So we see our neighbors doing this quite a bit. And doesn't mean we need to, but I think we're going to really thoughtfully look at this to see, is this something we want to do? And so we'll start to take off on that this spring while continuing to build the other pieces there that we want to keep doing. And then just a quick thank you. I have to remind myself as I'm in the community, we get a lot of calls on a regular basis from our neighbors because we are a leader in this area with student well-being. And they want to know how we did it and how we have all these people, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm so glad for the people that surround me every day in this role, and I'm appreciative of the board and the community, and it just speaks a lot to Westerville of how we do in this domain. So I know it was a bunch of information. Happy to field any more questions, thoughts.
That's yuck. No, I think the thanks actually, I want to thank Dr. Kellogg, and I want to thank you, Tammy, and your team. John, one of the first things when I re-engaged with the board, came back on the board, one of the first things that excited me so much was your commitment to SEL, to social emotional, and the creation of Tammy's position. At the same time you created Cynthia DeVisa's position, I viewed those as huge leaps forward for this district. And obviously, whenever you're doing something that hasn't been done, not only here, but it hadn't been done, as you put that into play, there's kind of a collective, okay, let's see how it goes. And it has gone remarkably well. When I look at the progress that has been made, the embeddedness we're seeing, and I'm not talking about, I know we've got work yet to do, but in the amount of time that you and your team have been at work with this, and all of our other educators in the district have been working with this, we have seen significant shifts and significant depth as we look at what we're doing here with social-emotional learning. I'm going to be like, I don't know, the old guy that says, get off my lawn. I'm going to be old here for a second. Years ago, people would say, don't talk to me about that stuff. I don't want to talk about how these kids are doing. I don't care how they're feeling. They just need to sit down and do their work. They need to read, they need to write stuff, and they need to do math. Leave the rest of it alone. That was, I'm not saying that Westerville was like that. That was what our country was becoming, kind of in the 90s. There was an awful lot of that said. And that was wrong. And it was extraordinarily short-sighted. And I am very proud of this community for seeing the short-sightedness of that and for being willing to place resources where they are needed. And I know we need more, but to have done what we have done thus far in this district is remarkable. And much of that is due to you and your team. So thank you, Tammy, for all that you do. It's hugely important and has moved us massive fathoms from where we and other districts have been in the past with what we're doing to help our young people develop. Thanks.
So Tammy, I would just say to you and your team, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I see from the staff and from the kids the impact it's making, and I don't know what we would do without you, so thank you.
Tie her up and keep her here forever.
So can I put you on the spot for a second? We were at a middle school meeting the other day, and you were rolling out the middle school component of SEL. And I would ask if you would share with the board the little gratitude lesson activity you share with teachers, because I thought, here's this person who specializes, Tammy's name oftentimes gets associated with some of the most difficult mental health situations we have as a school, but her approach, as you see, is all kids. And so I was fascinated by this little ditty of an exercise she taught to middle school teachers about, here's something you can do in your classroom on a regular basis. So would you mind?
Yeah, that's easy. Right, sometimes when we say we need to teach social emotional learning, that's when people freak out, right? Let me stick to math, let me stick to science. But then when you say, for example, we could teach gratitude every day, it'll take 1 minute, then they're like, okay, lady, come on, right? So, right, an example is, you start your classroom every day with, what are you grateful for, right? So it'd be like, think, pair, share. So I use the example, which got a little interesting, and Anne's here, so I'll be sure to embarrass her on her favorite smell. But that's what I want you to think about. What is your favorite smell? When you think of this smell, it brings back a really positive memory, a smile, and think about that for a second. Share it with your neighbor, and then I'll share with you one of my favorite ones that my colleague behind me shared with the group. Oh, you will? Hold on 1 minute. Yeah.
Okay, favorite smell?
Oh, I would say chili, because it reminds me of winter and my parents making chili and, watching football and playing in the snow.
Mine's similar. My dad's spaghetti sauce.
Yeah.
Same reason. It's family, warmth, love, laughter.
Yep.
I said lasagna because it reminds me of the holidays. We always have that for the holidays.
Sorry.
I like roses, too.
Mine was coconut because my grandmother always smells like coconut. But
I would have to say the smell of bread cooking, because my grandmother used to cook homemade rolls.
Mine's really bad. It's icy hot, because it reminds me of every single track meet I ever enjoyed, and the fact that I'm getting old and use more of it. Yeah.
I was presenting with a few people. Ann Baldwin was one and Chris Pointer was the other, so I thought I was safe. Well, I knew I wasn't with Chris, but I thought Ann. And so Chris's example was gasoline, which I quickly pivoted to Ann. And hers was, go ahead. A clean toddler.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
She got a lot of sympathy after that. But so,
Yeah.
right, like when you looked around and saw each other and shared, right, everyone was smiling, everyone was usually remembering some family component there. And so then if that wasn't enough, then you talk about how gratitude, if done regularly, is our best antidepressant. And so when you get into brain science, right, it releases the exact same chemicals as an antidepressant does. So it's going to trigger your dopamine, your serotonin, and all that good stuff. You do it regularly enough, even with our unwilling middle school students, they will accidentally do some things in their brain makeup to encourage themselves. So that's what we did to try and make middle school teachers enjoy our lesson for the day.
Thanks, Tammy. I appreciate you doing that on the spot. I just thought it was a fabulous exercise, so
Awesome.
I'm going to do that every day.
Good stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, sorry, I can't see.
I'd encourage you to check out the website they built and the links to it because it's very, very powerful. And we will begin through Greg Vibrantz communicating that out to the community at large because a lot of what's on there and those resources and the structures and those positions and is all on there for people. So I think it's a good user-friendly site for my kids struggling. Where do I go? Boom, boom. So I think it's exciting. I appreciate their work on that.
Okay, thank you very much. Up next, we have public comments, but we do not have any this evening, so that takes us to financials, 7.1. And may I have a motion to approve the financial report and investments for January 2019.
So moved.
Second. You can have it.
Ms. Marshall?
Thank you. Today, we're going over the January 31st, 2019, so we're in the new calendar year this time. Financial report. For the general fund, our year-to-date receipts were $118.6 million. Year-to-date expenditures were $98.4 million, and our unencumbered fund balance was $126.6 million. For all funds, we had a total year-to-date receipts of $198.7 million, and year-to-date expenditures of $135.6 million, and an unencumbered fund balance of $187.1 million for all funds. Any questions?
Nope.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 7.2, may I have a motion to approve the purchases in accordance to the ORC 5705.41 and Board Policy 6320.
So moved.
Second.
So this is, it's interesting, I have to say. So this was an Amazon purchase that was actually ordered in 2017 and was never received. It was being purchased through a grant. And so there was a purchase order in place at the time. The items never showed up because it was a grant. We closed it out. They showed up in, January of 19. So 2 years later.
Wow.
So much for Prime.
And again, it's paid out of a
2
grant.
years, not 2 days.
And it's more than $3,000, so I do need the board's approval in order for us to pay it.
Okay.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We have the personnel consent agenda. Is it okay if we take all of these as one vote with everyone? Okay.
Yes.
May I have a motion
So moved.
Okay, good. I'll second.
for 8.1 through 8.9? Mr. Hopkins, or?
President Davidson, members of the board, Dr. Kellogg, Ms. Marshall, I'd like to present for your consideration the personnel consent agenda. Some of the highlights included in tonight's consent agenda are as follows. We have one retirement to announce. Mr. Gary Case from our Transportation Department will be retiring effective June 1st, 2019. And as of that date, he will have completed 21 years of service here in Westerville. So we'd like to publicly thank him this evening and again later on at our year-end retirement recognition ceremony. We also have a total of 12 resignations from various classified substitute, administrative, and classified pupil activity positions. There are 2 contractual status changes I wanted to bring to your attention that will be effective August 1st of this year, and that moves Dr. Jennifer Knapp to the Director of Secondary Curriculum and Instruction position, and Ms. Cheryl Relford, who, as many of you know, is currently serving as the principal of Whittier Elementary School, to the Director of Elementary Curriculum and Instruction position. We also have the employment of 8 individuals in various classified and classified substitute positions, and as always, the employment of individuals in a number of supplemental contract and classified pupil activity programs as we get ready for the spring athletic season. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thanks. Ms. Marshall?
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. And since we are rescinding one policy and updating the policy, can we take this as one also, this next?
Sure.
Old business, 9.1 and 9.2?
So moved.
Second.
Sorry. Any questions, comments on this? Ms. Marshall?
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We do not have any new business tonight, so 11.1, it's donations. May I have a motion to approve the donations as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments, questions?
Deep thanks, as always.
Very grateful. Ms. Marshall?
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. 11.2, may I have a motion to approve overnight and out-of-state field trips?
So moved.
Oh, second.
Any questions, comments? No? Ms.
Mr.
Marshall?
Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. And 11.3, fee schedule. And I think, is
Move it onto the table.
Dr. Kellogg, are you going to talk to us
I
about
think
this,
Dr. Knapp
or-
is
Dr.
presenting
Knapp?
on this one this evening. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome.
Good evening. Sorry, I have to adjust a little bit. Modifications to the schedule include an update to the annual income guidelines and course fees for a new course that was approved in earlier this year at our high school. Changes in the high school fees include a removal of the phrase "not to exceed" in our theater courses. As you know, that's something that we were able to offer this year more fully because of an additional staff member, and so those courses have grown, and this really helps to clarify what the fee is for our parents. Also, one of the things that we've done recently is to add the fees of AP courses and IB, just another opportunity to be transparent. The AP courses assessment is not required, but we do like to be upfront, and so parents know what all fees they may incur with those courses. So that's something that we've done the past few years. In grade 6, we are requesting an increase of $5. Through our middle school design process, our initial recommendations include more opportunities for our students, particularly in grade 6, and we feel that this fee would help support those opportunities. In grade 7, there's an overall reduction of $3. We had a separate $8 fee for Art 7, which aligned with our high school courses, because for art and science, we do have additional fees, and for our elective courses, we have a fee. But over the past few years, Art 7 has been something that we have required all of our students to take. So we felt having that listed out as a separate fee, just didn't make a whole lot of sense. And so we brought that back into our general fee and made it a flat fee of $40. So that does offer some reduction to our families. And just a quick little history lesson, if you will. Several years ago, we did take a significant step in reducing our fees, starting in the 14-15 school year. As I looked back at the 13-14 school year, our fees for elementary included kindergarten started at $40, and we were up to $52. Now that's between $18.50 and $32. In middle school, we used to have an additional fee of up to $8 for novels for ELA. That has been removed. We also had for high school, books for ELA and social studies. So we have reduced those as well. Those have gone into building budgets to account for that. And also, especially with elementary, it was all of our workbooks, also world language workbooks. We have a lot of business workbooks. Those are all now paid through their curriculum and instruction budget. So we have made some significant changes in the fee schedule to try to help offset those costs for our parents over the past several years. So I just wanted to kind of bring everyone up to speed or give a little history lesson. I used to be a history teacher, clearly. Questions or comments?
Do you want to go first? or you want me to?
Yes. I do have some comments, and I very much appreciate our efforts to be transparent.
Definitely.
And I also have been pleased with the way we have whittled the amounts down. This won't be a question you can answer. I'll give you that up front, so you don't have to feel like you have to write everything down.
Okay.
So today, actually it was last night, I sat down and I pretended I was various type of student. I was a middle school student, I was a high school student who was just taking basic stuff. I was a high school student who wanted to really achieve at the AP, IB levels. I was somebody who wanted to take significant elective, all of those things. And I grew extremely concerned with high school as I played out what it means to be a high school student in Westerville now, and the costs that are associated with some of the higher levels of achievement that we very much want our students to take advantage of. And as I thought about the efforts that we're engaged in the district to encourage more students to become part of AP, to encourage more students to become part of IB, to get our underrepresented populations more deeply embedded in those academic experiences, I began to really wrestle with what we are asking our families to pay, even in light of what we have carved away from it over time. So if I am a high schooler and I have a significant interest in higher academic achievement, I've got my $20 general fee, $5 class dues. Let's say I take an IB science class, that's $24. I need to be in orchestra, that's $15. I want to do AP music theory, that's another $15. Maybe I have the opportunity at some point to pick up engineering, that's $16. Okay, can see where that's going. Then I have the IB registration fee on top of that. That's $175. Let's say I want to do 2 sports. That's $225. All of a sudden, I'm right at about $500 right there. Then there are other, we make very plain, there are other possible fees that come into play that could be assessed that we don't know. We know we have to have the calculator. Now, I understand that can be over the years, but we know we have that expense of a calculator. And then we get to the test fees. And we have $122 per IB test, $94 per AP test. And all of a sudden, I am seeing doors slamming shut right and left for students everywhere across this district. And as I looked at these fees, yes, if you are on free and reduced lunch, if you are free lunch, then you don't have to pay that. Reduced lunch, you get 50% off. It's still an insurmountable barrier because, I talked about $500. By the time I start adding those in, I'm up at $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 per year to be a high school student fully engaged in an excellent high-level academic experience. That's a striated society that we are creating, even though we don't want to do that. It is not in line with what we say we believe. It's not in line with what we're trying to do with so many of our students. And I called Dr. Kellogg this afternoon and said, I am really, really struggling. Now, Mark Hirschheiser knows I've spent 20 years saying I don't like fees. This one hit me so hard that I was literally aghast at what we're doing to families. On the one hand, try this, do this, go here, take this. On the other hand, you can't pay. I can't support that. At least I can't support it without some plan going forward that reduces further the burden on those families. It is beyond what I can accept, even though we have done a lot to remove that burden from families. We must do more if we intend to live up to what we say we believe, and if we intend to break down the barriers of socioeconomic class that this kind of structure actually enforces. Poor John, I don't think he was real happy with my phone call this afternoon.
He's still smiling, it's okay.
Yeah, right.
So that's exactly what I was thinking, and I think in a simplistic form, when I was looking at the middle schools, I was thinking, this is fabulous, we're creating opportunities. But as we create opportunities, we're creating a burden for families. And I looked at the high school piece as well, and I had 2 kids, one full and one partial IB last year, and it was really expensive. And you go into it thinking little chunks at a time. It's a significant amount, and it is a barrier for people, and I know there's a booster group out there for academics and IB, and they try to offset those costs, but I am sure there are many kids out there that don't want to come forward. So I applaud you for all these extra opportunities and greatly support them. I would like to see us find a different solution, a different way. I don't know what that would be, but I would like to lessen the burden. Thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have 2 high school students right now myself, and I think in your scenario, you're considering 1 student, but, I
Just
mean, it's a
multiply,
struggle.
yeah.
You know, between AP
Right.
courses, IB courses, any extracurricular activities. I mean, it's all quite a bit of money, especially for more than 1 student, but even for 1 student, it's a lot of money, so.
There's other pieces you can throw in, class lists from teachers that we do. So I was not taken aback by the conversation at all. I've had experience in other places where they do it differently with an emphasis to reducing those costs. Specifically, I think we can sharpen our pencils and take a look at what's in there and what does it mean for us to eliminate those. Much of that goes directly back into classrooms where teachers use those, so they're relying on that revenue source for materials that they need for those programs. As Jen mentioned, when we cut out the costs for the students buying literature books, we took it out of her the curriculum instruction budget, we refer to as Jen's budget, but it's a curriculum instruction budget, and so, and put that back
Cheryl
in
and
the teachers'
Jen's
room.
budget.
And so,
We're going to call it.
so I think there's some places there's things that are part of an effort to offset the cost of consumable supplies for elective courses. There are costs for tests that are charges external to us, AP, IB, but I've been in systems where the school board has agreed to pay or offset part of that cost. So we look at those pieces. Some of them get trickier when you get into things like booster groups and fees they may use with students to support those programs. Also know coaches do the same thing, right? Do we want matching shoes, not want matching shoes? What shoes? And I think they generally take students' circumstances into consideration when they make those decisions. So there's a lot of, you're right, because I've done it. I was a high school parent for years, wrote some big checks to get my kids through. So if we frame it around the equity of access, right, as a driver for us, then I think, yes, we could take go back, take a look at it, and at least show you what does it mean for us to implement some of those strategies, and maybe that's something that we step in over time and look at the end game. We had moved this presentation a couple years ago to this time of year because this is when they start scheduling. So we wanted parents to have an idea and tie what they're looking at for scheduling and understanding some of these financial components. So if we delay implementation with the possibility of changing some of that, we probably need to work quickly. And it also affects Nicole and budgeting for next year. So I think that the question is, do you want to move forward with considering taking action on what's in front of you with an opportunity for administration to spend some time looking at future recommendations? Or are you looking for some recommendations for this year that will impact our budgeting? And then what can we do for next year? And then what can we do beyond as a stair-step approach, I think is, what do you think, Nicole?
As far as timing, when do you think the buildings would need that information by when we're talking about scheduling? I'm just curious. I mean, it won't take me long to get some numbers together to see if you want the general fund to cover some of these.
I think scheduling is over, right?
At the high school level.
And at the middle school level. I was looking at maybe asking for a motion to postpone, to give you time to go back. And I guess we would look to you to see how long you needed.
It wouldn't take me long at all.
I think
And I
we-
could have it by the next board meeting.
Yep.
easily.
Maybe shoot for the March 11th
Yeah.
meeting?
Yeah.
What do you think, Jen?
That would work.
I
Well-
think that's a good idea. If we move to postpone, then what we would be asking you to do is just that, come back as soon as possible with the numbers and with the impact and how it would funnel into our equity and access work. And it may be that there are multiple scenarios that you think we should take a look at. It may be that there's one. I don't know. But I came in here tonight prepared to say I can't do this tonight. So, Tracy, I would like to make a motion to postpone.
Okay, that's what,
Second.
Can I ask one question before we vote on this? Would the board want to look at options for reducing the cost or for not implementing the cost increase? That's the only thing I'm not sure on. Reducing the cost overall, okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, so it's a motion to postpone. Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Knapp. Okay. 12.1, public comments. We do not have any, so that takes us to board comments, 13.1. And who would like to go first? Anybody?
I will.
Okay.
Before tonight's meeting, and I will get choked up about this. I was at a funeral home to say goodbye to someone that really meant a lot to this district, probably much more than most people know. George Tombaugh left us last week after a rapid decline and a death that came far sooner than anyone thought it should come. George was a unique kind of guy. He was superintendent here starting in 2000, and I was a member of the board that brought George here, and I never regretted it. Not one day did I regret bringing George to this district. And every day that I worked with George, I learned something. The days when there were tough things that needed to be done, we did them with George's direction and his push for all of us in the district to do them with compassion, to always seek to expand opportunities, and always to give other people the credit for what was done. George was one of the smartest guys I've ever known. He was also one of the most self-effacing people I have ever known, to the degree that so many people don't know all that George did while he was here, because he didn't want them to know. When George was here, we brought Foust online, we brought Alcott online, we brought Central online, we added to expanded, renovated, fixed district properties across the district in every school. We expanded opportunities for kids. We increased achievement. We increased attendance. We increased graduation. The district was moving well solidly with great stability, and with a man at the helm who was content to stand back and just watch everyone succeed as he did what was necessary behind the scenes to make that possible. He was, in addition to being one of the most intelligent people I know, one of the most strategic people I have ever known. His view was always on the long game. He was a good man. And I apologize for choking up about it, but I think of his family, and I think of all who love him, and I know how hard this must be. Thank you, George, and good night.
We are coming up on the end of the month of February. Man, March will be here Friday. And I would just wanted to take an opportunity to thank all of the teachers and staff and the students for all of the great work that they have done throughout the month of February in terms of Black History celebrations and recognitions. So I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of those staff and students for the great work they've done throughout this month.
Thank you. Jerry, do you have anything? Just real quick, as the month of February comes to close, the Westerville Police Department, who are dear partners to us, have asked us to honor Officers Morelli and Joring this month. So I was hoping that you all would join me in a moment of silence for our officers. Thank you so much. And with that, the board will meet in a work session on Monday, March 4th at 6 p.m. and in regular session on Monday, March 11th, 2019, also at 6 p.m. The meetings will be held here at the Early Learning Center in East Wynn. And with that, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Bell?
Yes.
Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Dr. Nestor Baker?
Yes.
Mrs. Davidson?
Yes. We're adjourned.
7:25.